Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the Built on Fitness show, where we take an unfiltered look into business insights and emerging trends for fitness entrepreneur. I'm Stuart, and I am joined now with a new co-host. Go ahead. Would please go ahead? Because I think everyone that listened to me in Rage Jam in the past, the one thing I think that I'm really excited about what you bring to the table here, Mandi, is we have the same career, path at least. We're both gym owners.
We are. I am a success representative for Explore. But like you said, I'm Mandi and a gym owner. So it's really cool to be able to work with the different brands and know exactly what you guys do inside and out, understand the stresses and the change in the industry in general.
And so your day job, you hear a lot of the similar things that we'll be talking on in this episode and future episodes. You hear those stories day in and day out, right?
I do. We have, obviously support. When it comes to technology, there's always a support aspect, but I'm on the customer success side. So I handle more of utilization of the product and what their current issues are, where their current limitations are, and what they need to succeed specifically, and then connect with, the team's support product dev to be able to figure out how to make the best product possible.
Cool. Well, I think this will be interesting. I know for today's topic, you and me have very different experiences right now as we sit. We're coming into the back end of April, going into May here in 2021. We're over a year removed from when I think most people got shut down with COVID in March of 2020. Right. And we have two very different scenarios going on. And geographically, for everyone for reference, my gym is located in Charlotte, North Carolina. And where exactly in Virginia are you? Richmond, Virginia.
So city. Yep. Richmond.
So Richmond, Virginia, and we're not talking, about 3 hours hours apart from each other.
Yeah. Yep.
4 hours away from each other. So, but we have radically different stories. If you would, please explain to everyone kind of how the resurgence and stepping back into quote unquote the new normal has been for your gym.
Surprisingly, we found with COVID, and there's many things about COVID that in the industry that was stressful. We all know that for sure. But it gave us a time to step back and really look at just our business model in general, where we felt we were doing really well, where we felt we could do better. And I think having that opportunity, one thing is with COVID, just people in general were told they couldn't go to a facility, right? Yeah. For safety purposes, right? For a logistical reason, I get it. But once you take something away from someone, there's a different value there. And their needs and their goals aren't being met by being at home. So post-COVID, now that the gym aspect and being in the gym was taken away, post-COVID, we've definitely seen an uptick, not just in members retention and attendance, but also in the number of new clients that are interested in coming to our facility specifically.
For your scenario, and because for everyone, just spoiler alert, I'm giving you a little foreshadowing. I'll be showing the opposite side of that, where we're not having this kind of success. I'm curious, what do you think? So much has changed. And again, one thing that's when you have these conversations, you have to be very empathetic to every state is a little bit different. If you were in maybe California or New York, we probably wouldn't be having the same very positive success type conversation. It might be a little bit more frustrating and much more stagnant. So for anyone in other parts of the countries that are anywhere in the world that still have mandates and rules that are preventing you from really, getting people back in the doors, we have nothing but empathy for you. Talk to me a little bit for your culture there in Richmond. What was that? What do you think was the green light that allowed people that really kicked it back on? Like, when did you see the COVID drop off? And then what was the green light that kind of that created a resurgence back into the gym?
Drop off, I think, I don't know that we necessarily we saw a spike specifically around vaccines. And when the vaccine was available and more available in Virginia specifically. We're in the city, Richmond. If you're familiar with Richmond, we are located right next to a medical university. I can see literally less than a mile away the VCU campus and the MCV hospital. And so a lot of my membership base, young residents, doctors, students, but in that medical field. And so I think that uptick definitely started around the vaccine and members becoming more comfortable, right? Like they were majority. I think it's more so of like a herd immunity is what we started to see within the gym itself. Because the new clients that were coming to Richmond were coming specifically because of school or job, and majority of the employers around us, it's VCU. So members are vaccinated. And so that, I think, is why we saw that huge uptick.
Got it. So the vaccine and the availability of the vaccine and people adopting to that became the thing. You mentioned, how was retention for you guys? Like, let's go back to March 2020
Sure.
when everything kicked off. Did you lose a lot of clients there? Obviously, most gyms and studios were able to retain current customers through efforts, but getting new blood in the door was obviously, well, if you're not open, you're not getting new blood in the door.
Right.
So was that similar for you? Did you see good retention, but absolutely stagnant new sales?
Definitely saw stagnant new sales while we were closed, right? So retention stayed really, really high. We were very grateful for the members that stayed on. 94% retention rate overall through the entire 3 months we were closed. And then didn't really add anyone new. We did do a challenge, which was like a small business driven challenge specifically to support other small businesses within the Richmond area, like local grocer, right? Local restaurants, and you got points based on, and so that drove some attention to us. We didn't try and collect memberships off of that, but that did drive some attention to us.
It kept your brand name out there in the community.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. And then I think it maybe planted the seed because we had a pretty big number of participants for that. And it was great. It was fun. It got them eager to get off their laptops and to get outside and, and disconnect. They got points for disconnecting for periods of time. And again, like I said, shopping with small businesses. So that planted a seed, but we didn't really add any new members. We didn't add any new members during those 3 months. And then when restrictions were lifted a little bit and we went in, Richmond was a little later than the rest of Virginia. But when we went into phase, I think it was 2 or 3. I can't keep track anymore. But and we were able to start doing workouts, group workouts, but they had to be outdoors. We started at the park, a local park right up the street from our gym, and that was huge. People would be like, "Oh, this is so cool! This looks fun," and get information. And then it went to our back lot, and we're in the city, small back lot, but we made it work. We brought our flooring outside. We were able to do workouts on the slope, is what we called it, because our back lot's like this. But we had fun with it, right? People see them running and stuff. So that's when interest, and we gained quite a few members in the first 2 weeks that we reopened. People were like, "I'm so sick of running by myself." And so they joined and they were doing outdoor workouts. And then from there, went inside, and it still continued to just steady increase month over month.
Have you guys had a peak month where you're like, oh my God, you guys have hit like a higher amount of sales than you have since you reopened?
We have March of 2021 was our second best month to date since being open. In July of 20 or July of 2017 is when we purchased the gym.
If you don't mind me asking, how many, what is that concept? How many new memberships is that into your business?
We had total new memberships were 11. Okay. Lost 3 for moving, a couple, and then one other. But 11 new in that month, just in CrossFit alone, 4 in performance, and then we had 6 new additional personal training clients.
So you covered all the services. You had new PT clients, new of your more general physical preparation group program, your CrossFit group program, all over. And that's great. And I've heard a lot of those. And then there's unfortunately stories like my own in Charlotte, North Carolina, where we've been open since July of 2020, and July, August, September, record sales months for us. It was gangbusters. We hit our slump, which is always seasonal, which is November, December, January, and February. We always anticipate that. We plan for that. However, we normally have an extreme pop March, and it hasn't happened yet. And then April, and didn't happen, hasn't happened yet. And we're hoping May and June. And the one thing is, the vaccine, we do believe very similar with you. The more people are getting it in North Carolina, the more we are getting a little bit more interest. However, they just laid out the plan to, remove limitations on mass gatherings and social distancing, but those won't air until June. So we're just kind of sitting here in Charlotte, kind of waiting, be like, hey, is it as the mandates come down and people find fitness to be more convenient? Because there are some elements of the mandates that are going on that someone might perceive as going to a group class is not convenient kind of scenario. And we're just not sure, but I have memberships at 6 different boutique facilities in the Charlotte area. And I go, cause I'm like, is it just me? Do I smell? Like, what's going on?
Right.
I travel and I look, and even our biggest, one of the biggest facilities is the Dowd YMCA that has a $7 million renovation recently, this brand new functional fitness area with group classes on, and it's a ghost town. So I look around as a barometer, all these other studios that are retaining well, but aren't growing well in our market. And it makes me feel a little bit better, just a little bit though. But the competitive side of me is like, when is this going to break? Let's talk a little bit moving into kind of the attraction and fulfillment element of getting people in, right? So it's not like I got to imagine you guys are not creating Facebook advertising and marketing that's directly correlated or using the language of, hey, people are getting vaccines, it's safer now. You're probably we're not having to say that, but how are you guys attracting people? What kind of marketing language are you using to let people know, hey, we are here, and if you feel ready to come back, we would love to be the place that gets you started again?
Absolutely. One of the things, like I said, in 2020, we took that as an opportunity to really look at and say, okay, I mean, I work a full-time job, more than 40 hours in a week through Explore, right? And so I had to be really honest with myself and say, okay, what am I trying to do that I'm not doing very well at, right? And so we looked at our business model as a whole and said, okay, what are some things, even listening to some of your podcasts, right? What are some things that that stand out to me? What are things that I know we can focus on? And one of those things specifically was saying exactly who we are and where we stand within the industry and what we want to be to people, right? So we hired a communications coordinator who helps us with not just social media, but with member communication like newsletter and planning events and things like that. So really just like general communications coordinator, like I said. And that has created an opportunity. We're not doing any type of paid marketing, but it's created an opportunity for consistent social media posts that do get out who we are, not necessarily who we're not, right? We're sharing exactly who we are and what we're focused on in this time, and just general health and wellness, right? Like picking and deciding and determining we want people to feel welcome inside of our facility, and just picking that alone as a starting point to our marketing. Not a single dollar has gone to a single marketing company from me, but I think that alone has allowed people to see exactly who we are and what we want to attract, which has helped.
So you essentially, instead of going to a marketing firm or spending money on Facebook ads, you essentially invested that money that you could have used for that into this communications manager.
Correct.
Now, let's get tactical on this for anyone listening who doesn't have a communications manager. It's a studio or a gym owner listening to this that are like, I am the communications manager. What advice would you have for someone in getting that word out? If they're like, okay, cool, I'm down with going ahead and placing more comms into the ether. Let's just go ahead and start with, what is that messaging for your gym specifically? What did that consistency actually sound like? What was that message?
We really focus on our membership base, our current membership base, and picking and understanding, what makes us, we're all very different. Being in a city, you get so many different people from different walks of life. All of us have that, right? But then focusing on that specific thing that brings us all together, right? We want to be around people who like to be healthy, but also like to drink a beer or whatever it is, right? So finding what is naturally human of us all through 2020 and all feeling crazy, right? And picking that out of being, you enjoy working out and together, right? And so really just shared who Ryan, and she shared in the beginning, at the beginning parts of the communication, shared who Ryan and I are, right? And what we want for our membership base, or hope for our membership base, right? And then from there, really just highlighted again, kind of based it around the months and what's going on in the world and things like that, and focused in on specific. Like February, we talked about all the couples in our gym. We shared highlights and why they choose SBC or performance specifically. So really, I mean, just focusing on exactly what we're covering month over month, and it's worked well.
So what I hear from a marketing perspective is essentially when you don't have a ton of resources, a lot of money, you have 20 promotional videos you had a videography company make, you have this Facebook ad campaign, you got to be resourceful. And what do you have a lot of? You have a lot of people that are currently within your walls, your membership base, that have interesting stories. And there are people like them in the same socioeconomic status, generally in this, in the same geographical area. Their kids might go to the same school. They have the same problems that your company solves for them, whatever that may be: health,
Right.
wellness, aesthetics. So you essentially started telling stories of the owners, getting people to relate to you, because people relate to people.
Right.
And then did you do a lot of did you use clients as kind of avatars to be like, hey, this is John. John's a fireman of 26 years, a father of 2, and a badass husband. John's able to maintain all these different hats because he comes here and he does this with us.
Yep, absolutely. That's exactly what we did, right? January was resolution, why they chose Shaco to be their resolution. I don't think we even used the word resolution, but why they chose in January. People set fitness goals, right? People can relate to fitness goals in January. So we shared a bunch of posts, probably 15 different members, and why they chose Shaco in January, why they were committed. February was couples, why our couples decided to work out together at Shaco, right? And ended the series with Ryan and I. And then March was lucky, why we felt lucky to have our members, and then vice versa, right? There was with St. Patrick's Day, right? We've tried to correlate it with things, again, that are relatable and what people have on their mind. And it's really fared, I mean, well, it's nice to have it off my plate. And her holding that, she comes to me. I mean, I'm a control freak. So it was really, really hard for me to let that go. And I will say that to any business owner that's listening, any gym owner, is if you are wearing those multiple hats, like, I finally had to just say, you know what, it's not going to be exactly how I would write it. It's not necessarily like going to look exactly how I would want it at this stage, right? It's not a marketing firm, but it's going to be better than nothing. And at one point there was nothing going out, and that was a big deal. So I think that, yeah, it definitely, I mean, focusing on that clientele and who is in our gym made people feel more comfortable.
We did something similar during the pandemic, towards the tail end of it, right before we reopened, that I really think added to our sales, and hopefully anyone listening can take some away. There's in marketing, my language, I like to use slogan is Scottish or battle cry. So slogans are like temporary campaigns you run around either a catchphrase or a tagline or an idea. So we ran one called Keep Moving CLT being Charlotte. And moving, our name is Urban Movement, and we spelled it all the same, and without the vowels. It was just this well-packaged thing. And we went and printed shirts. We created this digital outdoor one-day event. We had a leaderboard, and we had people from all over the world do this thing. I don't know how they got into it,
That's
but
awesome.
We did this giant thing called this Keep Moving campaign. We filmed and videotaped and did photography of members outside the gym, working out still, following our workouts. And then when we were back in the gym, we kind of continued that campaign with keep moving. It was, especially then with a lot of the stuff that was going on in the world, it was also more of like a mindset kind of scenario. Like, let's just keep pressing forward. The better positive days are in front of us. And that campaign, and like you said, we did organic posting. We didn't spend any money on these ads. Consistently, we aim for 3 times a day, a morning, an afternoon, and an evening post. And we're sending out a weekly newsletter to our email base. We're trying to grow that every single week compared to the unsubscribe numbers that come through. And that was the one thing we really attributed to that huge initial pop when we opened back up. And now where we sit today, where, things have kind of leveled off and we're waiting, we're trying to reignite that same magic. So we've been doing a lot of guerrilla marketing. We're doing pop-up shops. And if anyone who listens to this podcast, we talked about guerrilla marketing in a previous episode, but we're doing a lot of pop-up shops. Right now, I literally just reviewed the budget. We're potentially going to sponsor a pool party for an apartment complex. And I'm going to have urban movement floats and cups and sunglasses and towels, and we had a DJ come in, and we'll bring food and alcohol. And I'm literally going into this apartment complex saying, I will throw a free pool party for you and all your residents. I get X amount of passes for my members to come, so you can talk it up and tell people how great it is, and people would see what great shape they're in. And we will have iPads set up at the DJ booth where people can schedule for a free week of classes if they'd like. And so that's like a $350 investment for me to go ahead and hopefully guerrilla market a bunch of leads from our market. And will it pay off? I don't know. We'll let you guys know in a future podcast episode. But again, I'm lacking the resources to put on a $20,000 a month marketing campaign. So I've got to be resourceful with the efforts. Now let's carry it into the last piece, which I think is really important, is what to do on the fulfillment side when people actually come in. So it's one thing to be like, hey, get people in, but a lot of people now are experiencing the bottleneck with COVID mandates and protocols. Do you guys currently have any restrictions that limit the amount of people you can see per class or anything like that?
We do. So based on our space, we were at a 75% capacity, or 10 people, whichever was less. Well, we have 5,000 square feet, so 10 people is far less than our 75% capacity. So that definitely has put a damper on the number of people we can get through our doors in the group fitness aspect. So back to like 2020, thinking through our business model and all of those things, I had to really think like, okay, what experience do I want the client to get? Not just now we're sharing our story and who we are, that's going to attract them, but what am I going to do with them? And how am I going to make sure that I retain them? Because keeping that customer is far, far easier and less expensive than having to get another one. Right. And thankfully, I feel like we're at the point to where, just because of limitations, but still we're to the point to where I don't have to press as hard or want that next new customer as much, because we have a high retention rate. But still, we did look at that process and streamlining our like what we call a movement assessment. And it's not really a movement assessment. It's really streamlining our process of that very first, some gyms would call it or consider it a no sweat intro, but we actually get them up and moving after we sit down. They come in, they meet with me. It's no cost, or Ryan, no cost to them. Talk about their goals. I try and get a little bit of that information. Megan actually handles all the text messaging and stuff to set them up. They come in, we share, talk about that information, and then we go through some of the movements that functional movement that they're going to see, right? We go through step ups to box jumps, right? Some people are terrified of a box jump. So it would keep them from stepping in our door. But if I can show them that they can step onto a plate and then step onto 2 plates and then step onto 3 plates, and then before they know it, they can jump on those plates, and then like 3 minutes and they realize that they can do it. Or maybe they can't do a pull-up, but yet they can do ring rows. So we go through basic functional movement through that movement assessment / no sweat intro. And it lets them see, and it gets them excited that they can do this, right? So that was another thing that I think our process, I wanted to reconfigure. We still had a process, but it was straight into PT. There was no like, let's show you can do this for our CrossFit. Now we do offer a performance program. We have 2 classes a day, but that is a straight to class model. And it's for that client that maybe isn't interested in Olympic lifting or something. That's where I've seen bottlenecks still to this day because of my class size restriction. That's a very popular membership base. And I'm at the point where I can't add another person to my PM classes. I can't sell it.
Sure. And so you can't sell even though you'd like to. And that's, so it seems like for your one program, the CrossFit one, there's still opportunity to expand within there. So there's not as much bottleneck limitations. But from a fulfillment side, you're essentially, because a lot of people, I think I saw the most recent number, the average human, or the average American gained 26 pounds during COVID, something to that degree. So essentially just changing the messaging of, hey, when you come in here, if this is the route you want to go, if you want to do our more advanced program, this is how we're going to kind of meet you where you are and show you are capable of this. However, if you'd like to go with this other program we offer, we're currently at a wait list. And I mean, again, that's if you're an airline or an events company, which essentially gyms are, we sell hourly events multiple times throughout the day. Being sold out is not a bad problem, is a good problem to have. And now once your bottleneck opens up with mandates being dropped, that will pretty much solve the problem and for that program that's currently bottlenecked.
Yeah, we're currently going through reconstruction of what we call our front room. Our gym used to be kind of split by a really large, oversized, unnecessary bathrooms. And so we've renovated that about a year and a half ago, and we put a big rig up in the front, it mounted to the wall. Well, we're starting to see like limits the number of barbells you can have. I still have big barbells, right? I haven't taken your advice yet and gone smaller barbells. One day I will, but I still have really big barbells. And so we limit the number of people that we can put in that front room because of that wall mounted rig. So we're getting ready to take that out. We bought movable freestanding squat racks for the days that CrossFit needs it. And then we're going to mount pull-up bars. So we still have for CrossFit. We have to make it work for both, but mountable three pull-up bars for that front room. But that way the floor space is open. I don't have 6 poles in the middle of my gym that are limiting us in the space that we can fit. So once we get that done, we can open our space because members can still be 10 feet apart. If we open that space up, right, we could put 4 more people up there in CrossFit alone. That's 6 people in performance with no barbell.
So you guys have also hacked not even just the layout and the equipment factor to add to your ability to fulfill given the current situation. Yeah,
correct.
That's real. So my model, we are a straight to class model, and with the size of the facility and the mandates, that's one thing we did not have a bottleneck with was how many. We cap our classes at 24. We always have. We can still fulfill 24. Our model has always, it's been a pick your spot model. People have their own independent space, their own independent equipment. We were never really affected in that regard. The only thing we had to do with our fulfillment that changed is we tweak the way we were doing our initial, your first visit. So your first visit was essentially, and now it's, you show up 15 minutes early. We give you the quick tour. We bring you into the gym and to the floor space, and we show you to your spot. We help you get the equipment you want. We show you to your erg. Everyone is assigned a piece of cardio equipment, aka an erg. And we do an overview of the workout, and we go over the options right then and there. Now, this is where the bottleneck is. I had to reduce staff due to COVID, and my payroll budget dropped significantly. So we cannot dedicate a person to then close them independently. So we literally are closing them right there after everything. But hey, and we use a line very similar to this for anyone listening who wants to take it, please use it. Hey, Sally, so at the end of this workout, which you're going to love, I know it, your Deuces coaching class, you're absolutely going to love it. Is there any reason you wouldn't be able to get started with us today? And she's like, well, no, like, awesome. Which one of the membership options that we discussed via email or text or phone call prior, we always take care of it prior, are you most interested in? Oh, wait, I think I'll do that 12 times a month. Awesome. I'm going to have that ready for you after class. That way, when you're done with class, you just got to go to the iPad, punch in your information, and we'll get you right out the door. Like, we had to expedite that. And because we used to have staff available to sit down with someone afterwards and do a closing. So the only thing I've really had to change fulfillment wise, even though we're not dealing with a lot of new business in through our doors compared to what we need, is we've had to expedite it, but it's been nice. I'm not gonna lie. We're closing just as many people in a way more streamlined process that costs me less money payroll wise. So it's been really interesting to see some of the bottlenecks that COVID's given us, and how people have been able to like bob and weave with that. And does their business model come out leaner and stronger? Or is it something like, oh, I hate having to do it this way, but until we can get through the mandates, that's kind of what we're going to do. Cool.
One thing I was going to say, one thing I've noticed, just working with a ton of different gyms across the platforms and understanding, right, is through COVID, I think, and if it hasn't allowed gyms to think about their model specifically, I hope it has, right? But if it hasn't, really start to think about what you offer and how you sell it. And what I mean by that is so many gyms specific to like the industry my gym is in, right? I know there's many different gym types that are listening to this, but if you offer 7, 8, 9, 10 different membership options, humans don't make decisions easily. And when you overwhelm them with your options, they're not going to make a decision at all. They're going to walk away because they just can't choose. So that's one thing that I will say is I think COVID, and if it hasn't, I would hope that you start to focus on, what do you sell? If I came to you and said, hey, I'm interested in joining your gym, what are my membership options? And you're like, well, I've got this and this and this and this, you've lost me, and we see that with the gyms. So
paralysis by analysis type scenario.
Correct. Yeah. And that's something that I think with COVID, again, I'm hoping gyms have been able to streamline more, is 2 options, like give us these couple of options and present it to them sooner so that they know what their options are, and then you can close them easier. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Mandi, thank you so much. I'm super excited to have you on the Built on Fitness show and to continue jamming with you. I think this will be super cool to have another owner in the fitness industry to riff back and forth with. So thank you so much. Anyone, if you guys are listening to this and you have any questions for us, please comment down below wherever you're seeing this. Find us on Instagram, on the social media handles, all that good stuff. They'll be listed in the show notes below. And we're happy to answer any questions you might have. Until we see you in the next episode, guys, have a great day.
Thanks, guys. See ya.